There we go. Hi, good morning, Vikreta.
Good morning, Ellie. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. Good morning, everyone.
How is everyone doing? Okay, I've shared it on Facebook. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning,
I'm gonna
everyone.
click on this one. I'm gonna click on this link first. Good morning, everyone. Brief introduction. My name is Elizabeth, and I am an accredited rep with Dreamers Together. For those of you that don't know, Dreamers Together is an accredited rep. We are recognized by the Department of Justice, and we also have Miss Fakreta. She is a caseworker here with us at Dreamers Together. Ricardo, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm a caseworker here at Dreamers2gether. I have been here for over a year, and I certainly am thrilled to be here today to answer any AOS general questions that you may have. Just please keep in mind that if you have any DACA or AP related, head on over to that department. Um, and that's about it on my end, Ellie. Shall we get started?
Yes, let's go ahead and get started. I put the on the website here at the bottom. If you're looking for services, if you want to reach out to Dreamers Together because you're going to start your adjustment of status process, you want someone to review your paperwork, you have a consultation. We also do DACA and advanced parole. This is the website and the phone number. You can give us a call or visit us on our website to go ahead and get scheduled. Please, no private messages on our personal Facebooks because I know our personal Facebooks will pop up. We don't answer to those. If you're a client, always please make sure to reach out to our Dreamers Together email or to support at dreamerstogether.org if you can't get a hold of us, which should be happening, but sometimes, I miss an email or two. It can happen. Perfect.
Correct.
What do you want us to cover today, Fikreta? Any exciting news on your end?
Aside, from what I posted on Facebook a few days ago about, my client, one of my clients, their AOS case was approved with no interview. This was a child to parent case, and we had gone in well over a year, and we were just stuck on case still processing, and she needed to travel because she had a family emergencies. So we were trying to come up with a solution aside from waiting. So we were like, you know what, let's just try and send an inquiry. And she did. She reached out. She reached out to Emma on the USCIS website. She chatted with Emma. Emma connected her to a live agent, and she explained what was going on to the live agent. And unfortunately, at the time, he had said to her that you are not out of normal processing time yet. She reaches back out and she lets me know, the officer said we are not out of our normal processing times yet. And mind you, we had gone well over a year. So I was like, okay, well, reach out again, call them and let them know. So she did. And a few weeks later, we look at her case and it was approved with no interview. So I just, you know, I had not had a case like this. We had not tried the solution because obviously, you have to wait. Your case can well go into 18 months and we still have to wait. But in her case, she did get lucky, I guess. She had not applied for permission to travel while her green card case was pending. And at this point, Ellie, are those even worth it? There was cases, the permission to work, the permission to travel. So yeah, she got. I was extremely thrilled when the case popped up as approved, and she had no interview. So in her case, it worked out. So that's really the exciting news on my end. The fact that I did get a case approved with no interview, when right now all the cases are basically getting interviewed. So in her case, again, we got extremely lucky. And I want to touch base on another thing, Ellie. Well, on another issue with AOS. Arrests, fines, tickets. Okay. Um, you can have something from 10 years ago, like a misdemeanor or, something over $500. And now you want to, submit your USCIS packet to, I mean, I'm sorry, submit your AOS packet to USCIS, but you have this misdemeanor or this arrest, but it was dismissed. So you are thinking, I'm not worried because it was dismissed. So even if they see it on my record, it was dismissed. I don't have to submit paperwork. It could be 10 years ago. Okay, you still have to submit the paperwork showing that whatever you were fined for, or if you were arrested and it was dismissed. They need that paperwork. You need to show them paperwork that it was dismissed. Okay, you cannot send your AOS packet to them with a misdemeanor that was dismissed or an arrest that was dismissed, because they will RFU. They will want the disposition to that record. So really, really, please, if you go back to the courthouse, get a background check done. Ask them for the disposition of, you know, the arrest. Because even though it was dismissed, no charges were filed, it was dismissed. They want that paperwork. Don't just send in your AOS packet, you know, reporting, oh, you were arrested for so and so, but it was dismissed, no charges were filed. No, go to the police station, get a letter from them. They will give you a document stating that no charges were filed. Go to your courthouse, do a background check, ask them for the disposition record. It should show, whatever the case was, whether it was dismissed. I just want to say, do not submit your packet to AOS. Ugh, it's been a long morning already. Do not submit your packet to USCIS with no documentation showing the outcome. Okay. If you're unsure, okay, go to an attorney. Just please do not submit your AOS packet with no documentation. If it was expunged, go back to the attorney that expunged it and ask for the paperwork. Okay. You know, if you can't get anything or you can't find the attorney, go back to the courthouse, do a background check, write a statement, notarize it. Just please don't send these packets out with no documentation to that citation or that arrest. Because if something was handled through the courts, even though it wasn't an arrest, you still obviously have to note it and you have to show them documentation to the outcome.
I totally agree. I don't think they were as picky as they were with the prior administration, and it
Correct, they
just
were
has a lot to do with this administration. Is It has a lot to do with this administration, who we have in office, how closely are they looking at past charges. So people could have gotten away with it, but now we want to make sure that everybody that's applying for adjustment of status has this. Sometimes it's not going to be a straight shot because, of course, there's things that can come up in the case, but you want to cover yourself completely and not have the officer question your integrity, not question your moral character, not question, are they lying to me? Are they withholding information? If something happened, disclose it, but make sure you have that paperwork. Okay. Let the officer look at your paperwork and say, okay, XYZ happened. Let's go. It was years ago. I don't need to ask more questions. I have everything here. Let's approve them. Let's go. Sometimes we think, I'm not going to disclose it. It's not going to come up. It's going to come up. And if it does, it just can, there's a lot of
Delay.
things that can
It will
happen.
delay, yes.
Yeah, it would delay and they will question your integrity. That is one of the big things, is your integrity gets questioned. Why did you not tell us this from the very start? So
Hmm.
integrity is a big thing. Good moral character. I call it integrity, but good moral character. Um, but yeah, definitely, Ricardo, thank you for that. I think it is very important. And like you say, when in doubt, reach out to an attorney. We do have a list of um, approved or vetted attorneys. And again, I will have to just remind everybody, please do your homework on these attorneys. We're not liable. We're not responsible for
Right.
any outcome. Okay, we are just recommending them. We have worked with them and they are amazing from the work that they have provided for our community. Every case is different, so we can't promise outcomes. But yeah, thank you so much for that, Fikrena. I posted yesterday to let everybody know that I have 4 interviews for today. And they were, I think somebody had asked what dates, and they were like March-ish dates. And some of these had we go back to this question every single week, or this topic every single week. Some of these had RFEs for 40 credits.
Hmm.
And the only thing we did was send back the 40 credits March. So we're in September. 6 months later, they got their interviews set up. So, hopefully today we'll have more approvals. If not today, tomorrow, within the next few days, we'll have more approvals to add on.
Yeah. You, Ellie, we don't want anyone to get discouraged. Okay. Now you received an RFE because USCI is just issuing them for the exemptions for, for any individual that's filed the exemption. Do not get discouraged. Oh, now I have to answer this RFE. It's going to take months for me to get an interview. As soon as you get to that interview, after that interview, it's like you have your interview and then you just wait for a decision. So you are there. I had one case, one of many, that have not had this scenario happen to them, but I had one case where we submitted the response to the RFE for the exemption in their USCIS online account. We submitted all his addendum. We submitted his Social Security statement, letting USCIS know, he should have not been issued an RFE. Here is the proof that he has the 10 years and the 40 credits. We uploaded that response into his USCIS online account, and he got an interview 2 weeks later. Well, no, he got an
Okay.
interview notice 2 weeks later, but that's one out of so many cases. You know what I mean? So I just want to let you know, whether it be 2 weeks, whether it be 3 months or 6 months, once you get your interview, you are almost there, okay? So do not get discouraged. If you have no other way out, file for the exemption, okay?
Hmm.
You don't want to wait months for your spouse to correct any errors on their taxes because you're wasting time. If you know that you have the 10 years and the 40 credits, file. File asking for the exemption on page 8 of the I-45 with your Social Security statement and your EAD cards. Just please make sure you have the 10 years and the 40 credits, number one, okay? And if you don't, when in doubt, ask us, okay?
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
have had some cases where they don't qualify any other way for the IA-64 because petitioner doesn't make enough. Even combining petitioner and beneficiary whom live together do not make enough. They can't find a joint sponsor because it is very hard to get somebody to sign for you on that IA-64 and stating they're going to be financially responsible for you for the next years, on 10 years, or you get your 40 credits, or you become a U.S. citizen. And even if you separate from your spouse, if he signed that IA-64, financially, he's still going to be responsible for you, or they are going to be financially responsible for you. So it's very hard to find a joint sponsor. And I tell my clients, like, it's going to be okay. Yes, it may take a little bit longer, but it doesn't mean that your case is not going to be approved. I know we won't, our green cards, as soon as we send our applications, we want an interview. We want to have that green card in hand. But like you say, don't get discouraged. It take 6 weeks. It takes 6 months. It take a year, 2 years. You're still going to have that green card. Continue to renew your DACA. Some of us have waited 25, 30 years in the US. A few more months is not going to make it or break it unless you just behave, everybody. Just very important, behave. Make sure you continue to
Yes.
renew your DACA. And as long as you're there in line waiting for the green card, please, patience. Very, very, very important is patience. But yeah, if you, the only option is 40 credits, do 40 credits, get an RFE, respond to it, and before you know it, you'll be set up for an interview.
Yes. Yep. So we have a question, Ali, and this one is for you from Rayo.
Hi, Rayo. Dice, hola, Eli, otra vez yo. Mi prima vive en Carolina del Norte y ella quedó con su aplicación de DACA en proceso. Fue cuando pararon de aceptar. Ella alcanzó a ir a las huellas y de ahí se paró todo. En un live escuché al abogado Cook que él iba a hacer algo para ayudar, que iba a meter una demanda, algo así. Para eso se tenían que inscribir. Todavía se están uniendo a esa demanda. ¿Me puedes dar el link para pasárselo o para compartírselo a mi prima, por favor? ¿Sabes algo de esto? So, ese enlace se acabó, si no me equivoco, a finales de julio, ¿ok? Para finales de julio ya tenían que haber entregado toda su información al abogado Charles Cook y haber hecho el pago. Para más información, yo les pediría que se asesoren con el abogado Charles Cook, ya que sí fue para finales de julio. She's asking about the DACA applications that were put on hold. Attorney Charles Cook was going to do, it wasn't going to be the suits where you do all of them together. What are these called? It wasn't going to be one of those, but they were going to do something. But people
Yeah.
have to have turned in, made a payment by the end of July, I believe. So, for any information on DACA applications, first time on holds, contact Attorney Cook because there was a deadline, and I think we are now past that deadline. I'm trying to think of the word, and I can't think of it. I just have to come back to the word when a group of people sit together. I know last time I asked the same question, somebody told me what it was called. I can't remember. It's been a day. But yeah, for that, contact attorney Charles Cook. So again, RFEs, okay? 40 credits RFEs. If you can avoid it, go for it. If you can't, take the 40 credit RFE. And it's funny because you would think that, USCIS by now has already realized, oh, hey, I'm making these mistakes, but no, they haven't.
It's still going on. It's
They're
still going
still
on.
going on. They still are going on. And I think it's been, wow, it's almost going to be a year.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions that we have today? If nobody has questions, we're going to keep it short. Ask away. Let's see if there was something that I wanted to bring up. I have all these things and then I don't write them down and I forget them. Um, I can't think of them. I remember. Look, going back to getting
We could. Yeah.
discouraged. Another
Hmm.
thing that happens is whenever applicants go to the green card interview, not everybody is going to be approved on the spot. Okay.
Correct.
There's a couple of scenarios that can happen. One of them is they can tell you verbally you're approved on the spot. By the time you walk out of the office, the I-130 and I-485 are updated, or they're updated within the next few days. That's the outcome we want, right? Getting a verbal approval, walking out, everything's approved. Your green card's going to be in the mail within the next few days. Another scenario that can happen is you go to the green card interview and they'll give you a letter saying that your case is in review. I've had a couple of my cases that
So.
they get this letter that's saying, hey, your case is under review. I can't make a decision right now. A review and supervisor will look at your paperwork and we'll let you know if we need anything else. That is also pretty normal.
Hmm.
Most of, actually, all of my cases haven't really gone asked for anything else with that paper. Okay. Um, Another thing that can happen is you go to the interview and they tell you everything looks good. You get home and there's an RFE because the officer didn't realize that they were missing something until after you went to your interview. I actually have a case. It's been pending since about March or April of this year. They got a verbal approval, but their I-485 hasn't been approved yet. So there's a couple of scenarios. Please don't get discouraged. Now, if you for some reason get a notice of intent to deny, that is when, okay, now we do have an issue. What issue do we have and how are we going to fix it? Why are they intending to deny your green card after your interview? That is when it's definitely, I will say something to worry about. But as long as you've walked out of there and they have an RFE'd you, just please be very, very, very patient. I know after it's probably the hardest thing about the whole process is the wait. But again, everybody's time is going to be coming and no two timelines will be the same.
Correct.
Let's go to the next one. Let's see, it's Raya. She said, gracias, Eli. Mi hijo el otro día agendó una cita para hacer la remoción de residencia condicional y tal vez tú se la agendaste. Me dio gusto saber que sí le van a ayudar con eso. Muchas gracias. Sí, sí vi su nombre y dije, ok, esta persona sí sé quién es. Her son is doing removal of conditions. He came on my calendar. So I recognized he was Rayo's son as soon as I saw the name and the last name. I was like, this is Rayo's son. So we're excited to have him for that. We do removal of conditions, okay? For anybody that's needs some information on removal of conditions. If you get married to a U.S. citizen and you do your adjustment of status through your U.S. citizen spouse, if on your 2-year anniversary, okay, if your green card gets approved before your 2-year anniversary, you're going to have a conditional green card valid for 2 years only. You'll have to do the I-751. You'll have to do it 90 days. If you're still with your spouse, you will have to do it 90 days before your green card expires. Now, if your marriage ends up in divorce, you don't have to wait until the 90 days. You can go ahead and just submit the removal of conditions by yourself. There's a couple of reasons that you can do it by yourself and not have to wait the 90-day period. Okay. You want to make sure you do it though before the 90-day period if you still are married with your spouse, or you will fall out of status. If you're married 2 years or more after your green card gets approved, then you will have the 10-year green card, no removal of conditions. So, um, very mindful of that. We have a question, Fee.
Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, ladies. If I'm using my 40 credits, what information do I need? Okay, if you are using your 40 credits, obviously you are going to mark the correct box on page 8 of I-485, and you are going to attach your SSA statement showing the 10 years in your 40 credits, as well as all your EAD cards front and back, and an addendum explaining that you do have the 10 years in the 40 credits and you're asking to be exempt from filing the traditional I-864. This one's for you, Ellie.
Berta, hola, yo tengo una pregunta. Mi esposo y yo hacemos los taxes juntos. Yo solo tengo part-time y no tengo los 40 créditos. Yo podría usar su income si hacemos las taxes juntos. So, Berta, para eso, él como el peticionador, como el ciudadano, es quien tiene que llenar el I-864. Okay, no lo va a llenar usted con su ingreso de usted, lo va a llenar él usando su ingreso. Si él gana lo suficiente para la cantidad de personas que hay en su hogar, la cantidad de personas que él es financieramente responsable, él va a usar sus ingresos. Si él no cumple con todos los ingresos, pueden juntar los ingresos de Berta, quien es la beneficiaria, y esposo, quien es peticionador. Y si aún así no cumplen con los requisitos financieros, van a tener que buscar un aval financiero, alguien que se haga responsable por Berta, ya que esposo no puede cubrirlo y Berta con esposo tampoco, porque no tiene los 40 créditos. Pero tiene que ser con los ingresos del peticionador. Y el peticionador es quien va a llenar el I-864. También asegúrense, nuestra recomendación para eso es de que sea con W2. 1099, hemos visto que inmigración manda muchos RFIs porque ellos no pueden probar que el ingreso sea consistente porque es 1099. Entonces, de preferencia que sea un W2, que ganen semana con semana o 2 veces por mes, quincenal, pero que estén recibiendo un cheque consistente y que vayan a ganar la tabla I-864P. That's the table you guys want to look at. I-864P to see if your household makes enough for the financial portion of the application.
I also want to touch one. I want to touch on one thing on the I-864. If your petitioner is filing the I-864 for you, and obviously you don't have the 40 credits, so your petitioner is going to file the traditional I-864. This is very, very important to take a look at those tax return transcripts. If your petitioner is claiming dependents, your petitioner has to count those dependents in the household, okay? Your petitioner can't just count himself and his spouse that he's sponsoring, okay? No. If he is claiming his mom as a dependent, example, him or her, if they're claiming their mom as a dependent on their taxes, guess what? They need to count her in the household. So it won't just be the petitioner, his spouse, and a household of two. No, it'll be whomever the petitioner is claiming on his current taxes as well. So if your petitioner is filing an I-864 and they're counting, themselves and their spouse, and your petitioner is claiming their mom on their taxes, guess what? They have to count the mom in the household as well. Okay. If they are claiming their sister on the taxes, right? I've seen this where the petitioner, has claimed his sister on his taxes as a dependent. That petitioner needed to count his sister in his household size. Okay, so another example. I'm the petitioner and I'm filing the I-864 for my spouse. It is just me and my spouse in my house, right? No kids, example. That'll be two of us in the household, but I also have claimed my sister as a dependent, right? So I would have to count myself, my spouse, and my sister in my household of 3. And I will have to make sure that, I, as the petitioner, make enough to cover a household of 3. because I have also a dependent, which is my sister, that I have claimed on my taxes. They're going to look at that. So for all you petitioners out there that are going to petition and sponsor, just make sure that if you have any dependents in your taxes, you count those dependents in your current taxes, 2024. If you have any dependents, you have to count them in your household on the I-864. So if it's you and your spouse and you have a dependent on your taxes, it's a household of three.
One of the issues that I run to a lot is when we're doing our consultations, one of the questions that I do tend to ask is petitioner, single, zero kids. They're like single, zero kids with mom or dad or, spouse. And then once I go to that tax transcript, we look at the number there and it's like one, two, and you have to be very careful because you maybe are stating that you don't, but paperwork shows that you are. So we go by what paperwork says, and that's what USCIS is also going to look into. So you may be single and zero, but you do have some dependents. So I've learned to ask now a little bit more in depth, like, are you claiming anybody on your taxes? Because I've ran into that issue a couple of times where they are single, they don't have no dependents, but they are filing for somebody on their taxes. That's actually a dependent, has to be counted in the household size. Tax
Correct.
paperwork shows there's one or two dependents, and we have to go by what's on the paperwork.
And
And
you have
then
to
they
make
don't
sure.
meet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now it changes a little bit, right? The game changes a little bit because now we have to make sure, okay, they say, at the consultation, the household of two, but they have dependents. So now we have to make sure that their income covers everyone in the household, even the sister that they
yeah.
they claimed
And
as a
sometimes
dependent.
that's the issue I run into
So
is they don't,
so
because I
sometimes,
went by what was originally stated.
yeah.
Yeah, until I
So when you think
actually
about
looked.
our work, Ellie, it's like it's not a clean cut. It's we have to check these documents. We love our clients, but we don't always go by what they say. We have to check and we tell them
That
like,
is my thing.
listen, there is a
I
last
tell
name
that.
here. Are there any
Yeah,
dependents? Oh no, there isn't. Please go back and speak to your spouse and double check. And that's when they'll come back and say, oh my God, there was or there is. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So yeah,
That's what I
just
tell to my legal assistant. I said, always look at the paperwork because we sometimes run into surprises. Don't always, paperwork is what we really want to go by is what's on paper. You can say, no, I don't, they're just on my taxes, but that's
mhm,
what USCIS is going to go by is who are you financially supporting throughout the year and why are you filing taxes for this person? So very careful with the taxes because I know there's a lot of misinformation on taxes as well.
yeah, that's correct.
Jose, I'm going to, Jose, for that one, I'm not going to go too much in detail, but I'm going to answer the question. José dice, si tengo una felonía y un misdemeanor dismissed, ¿puedo hacer AP? Con esta administración, José, yo te recomiendo que te asesores con un abogado si tú tienes una felonía y un misdemeanor para Advance Pro. Con la administración anterior hice varios casos sin problemas, pero con este quieres asesorarte primero. Asking about AP with felony misdemeanor needs to consult with an attorney. Right
Yes,
now, a different administration. I'll let
correct.
you answer this one.
Hello, Normus. Lawyer is asking proof of USA presence back in 2008 before submitting my package. I have no evidence. I'm adjusting through Citizen Parent 245I. Any advice? Okay. Um, so if you are if you are using that 245I in lieu of a missing entry, um, I don't understand why your lawyer would want proof of your presence back in 2000 because under 245I, you are required with your packet, you know, to show physical presence for the beneficiary. Okay. Um, your, I'm not sure, obviously, why they are asking because we don't know your case. Why they are asking for, your presence back in 2000 for proof of your presence back in 2000. But I can tell you this: typically with the 245I case, okay, you will take that petition that was filed under 245I and you will use that in lieu of a missing entry. And then you will continue with your AOS case. There is just like a supplement you have to file with that called the I-485 supplemental. And then you have to pay the $1,000 fine. And you have to submit proof that you're the beneficiary to that 245I petition. So that I-130 petition that was filed under 245I, you have to submit physical presence for that beneficiary showing that they were physically present on or before December of 2001, I believe. A date in December of 2001.
It's December 21 of 2000, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let me
Okay.
check it right now.
Yeah.
Because I was going to tell you the same thing. Why aren't they asking for that? It doesn't really matter if you were in the US or you were not in the US on December of 2000. What matters is your citizen parent or the person you're qualifying through that 245I was. So I would say you probably need a new attorney for that.
Yeah. Or you can always just have a you know, reach out to us and then we're gonna obviously ask for the paperwork and we're gonna take a look. But you have to understand something. These 245I cases, they are not, a case that you can just take a look at in one day and get, we have to look at the information you give us. We have to look at the proof, that the beneficiary was present. And we have to look at the petition. So it's not a case where you can fly by it in a week and we can get back to, these cases are complex and we like to, you know, look through all of the evidence that you submit to us. Okay. So if you would like, you can book a consultation with us. You could book a Q&A with us and submit all the and then we'll let you know how the process usually works. But I don't know again why the lawyer's asking for, proof of your physical presence back in 2000, unless obviously there's something else there that we don't know about. But always reach out to us and have your paperwork handy, and then we could talk about it then.
Yep.
Book a Q&A with us.
Thank you.
And there is one more thing that is relevant to 245I. If the petition for the beneficiary was filed, I want to say in 98, then you do not have to show physical presence for the beneficiary. But if that paperwork was filed after 98, you do have to show physical presence for the beneficiary.
That's correct. January 14th of 98, if it was filed before, you don't have to show that physical present of December 21 of 2000. If it was filed after January 14 of 1998, you have to show physical presence for the principal beneficiary, which in this case would have been the original I-130, not the derivative, okay? So, and the reason I say a new attorney is because those little things, especially when you're doing a case, and if an attorney doesn't know exactly why they're asking for me, that's a red flag because they're the attorney. They're supposed to know what they're doing. Now, if they're asking for things, to me,
Yeah.
it's just, oh, I don't know.
Well,
I'd be
Norma, it's
scared.
definitely, it's really interesting. So, Norma, please reach out, book a Q&A with us. It'll be, the best $50 you spend. Or,
Yeah.
whatever the price is.
Yeah.
Because now I'm curious. I want to know why,
Yeah. Why? Exactly. So very careful, very careful. And like those things, sometimes you just do have to be careful with. I will say right
Yes.
now is not the time to. If they're making a mistake already before your packet has even been sent, what can go wrong in the packet? Not trying to scare anybody, not trying to discourage anybody. You just really want to make sure that everything is done correctly.
Yes. And I
Okay.
actually, you have to understand that you also have to have some paperwork to send of that petition that was filed. You cannot send the 245 case without that paperwork that was filed with a screenshot showing that that paperwork was just filed. No, they're going to want paperwork. All right, let's see. Well, Erin, how do y'all think the Fifth Circuit will be implemented? Would they let us work the remaining time in our permit?
I will say I don't think anything on that. I don't have any personal opinions. We just really have to wait what the final decision is going to be.
Just go with the flow, basically, and just wait and see what happens.
hmm Continue to renew, though.
Yes, definitely.
That I can say. Ok, Berta dice, gracias, el peticionador es nuestro hijo y está pidiendo a los dos, no tiene ingreso. Esta es una muy buena pregunta, Berta, y la razón es porque es hijo más un papá, no es hijo más dos papás. Entonces, la cantidad que tienen que hacer son solamente para dos personas, no tres. Y la razón por la cual es dos personas y no tres es porque todavía no son residentes. Ninguno de los dos es todavía residente, entonces todavía no cuenta como un miembro para el I-864. Solamente va a contar una vez que sean residentes. Entonces, si uno de los papás se hace residente primero, tienen que contar papá que ya se hizo residente, peticionador que hizo la petición más la persona que están pidiendo. En este caso, Berta nada más va a ser peticionador más un papá porque todavía no han recibido su residencia. Su esposo, la persona que tienen que juntar ingresos puede ser una persona que es ciudadano o residente legal por lo menos 18 años. Si tienen DACA, no pueden juntar ese ingreso con el de usted, ya que es otra persona que solamente tiene permiso de trabajo. Pero usted y su hijo sí pueden juntar para la aplicación de usted y su esposo y su hijo sí pueden juntar para la aplicación de su esposo. Pero su esposo no puede juntar con usted, normalmente porque él solamente tiene permiso de trabajo. Para eso yo le diría que si tiene más preguntas, el I-864 hay muchas maneras de llenarlo, hay muchas posibilidades. Haga una cita, estamos disponibles, haga una cita, presente su caso y le vamos a poder ayudar un poquito más porque hay un poquito más de detalles que me gustaría saber, pero puede ser que algo pueda funcionar y si no funciona, entonces un joint sponsor. Berta, she was asking originally if she could use her spouse's income, but I had assumed that her spouse was the petitioner. But no, the petitioner is her son, and she's trying to use her spouse's income because they don't make enough because son doesn't have any income. So they can't use spouse's income on her application because he only has a valid EAD. Has to be U.S. citizen or a resident at least 18 years of age. And you don't count the other parent as the household because the other parent isn't a green card holder yet. You will only count them once they receive their green card status, then they'll count. So it's right now a household of two that we're dealing with, but there's a lot of ways that the I-864 can be completed. There's a lot of options. Book an appointment, and if it doesn't work out, then definitely joint sponsor. Okay. María dice, buenas tardes, mi esposo y yo hacemos los taxes juntos, pero él no tiene permiso y yo tengo mi DACA, pero me gustaría saber si afectaría si quisiera hacer los taxes casada pero separada. Eso no nos afectaría porque hace unos meses apliqué para mi AOS. Lupita, para IRS, no importa si tienen estatus legal o no tienen estatus legal, si ustedes están casados, tienen que ser casados. Mucho cuidado con eso porque también he visto muchos casos donde por mala asesoría uno de los dos no tiene estatus legal y los ponen como soltero. Ponerlo soltero, muy malo. Ahora, si quieren hacerlo por alguna otra razón, solteros pero separados, puede ser aceptable todavía, pero casados juntos también está bien. Maria has a question. Her husband and her, they do taxes, but he has no lawful status. Can they do married filing separately? They can, but there's no need to. IRS doesn't care if they have a legal status. IRS wants their money. They want you to. Now, if you're married and your spouse doesn't have a legal status, don't do single. You're going to be more in trouble by filing single and you're actually married than by doing married or married filing separately with someone that has no status. Very careful on that because I've seen a lot of stories on that. Okay. You want to go to the next one? There we go.
Elma. Hello, Elma. I'm currently filling out my AOS paperwork through marriage to a U.S. citizen. I have a question about the address history section on Form I-138 and I-485. I visited the U.S. 3 times before my current entry, all in ESTA, and during those visits, I stayed temporarily with friends or my now husband for a few weeks or months. My permanent residence remained in my home country. Do I need to include those addresses from my previous visits in the address history? I definitely would. Include the address and, you could make a little note like a temporary visit or something like that, but definitely include it because, you might run into that officer. Well, they will ask about where you've been the last 5 years, where you've lived. You're welcome, Normus. You're welcome, Eden. Toby. All right, Ellie, would you like to take this one? I'll take it.
You can do it. I'll get the Spanish one. I see a lot of Spanish questions.
Hello, Toby. I traveled with AP and one of my entries does not show on the I-94. Will this be an issue for when I AOS? Okay, it will not be an issue for when you AOS, okay? If it's your last entry and you cannot find your I-94, submit an inquiry, okay? And if you have maybe the passport stamp or your I-512L that's stamped, you can use that in lieu of that missing I-94. And you can show, USCIS that you have tried to retrieve your last entry, your I-94, but you have not been successful. So you have attached your passport stamp of your last entry and your I-512L with the stamp of your last entry. Now, if you're looking at your history and now you're panicking because there is, a travel date that's missing, and you know that, you came back in the legal way and all of that. Just again, maybe you have that passport stamp or other evidence that you did come in with AP. Just keep that handy just in case the officer checks or if he asks you. But typically they're able to see your whole history of entries. Or you can also do a FOIA. Okay. I've also had someone missing. I've also had someone unable to locate their I-94 and missing an entry, and they were able to call CBP and they were able to locate that entry. So again, if it is your last entry and you need that paperwork for your AOS packet, if you have the stamp or the I-512L AP document, you can use that as well. If you don't have the stamp or the document and you don't have the I-94, you have to reach out to CBP, file inquiry, let them know, listen, I don't have an I-94. This was my date of travel. If it's your past travel history that you've done AP came in with, again, you keep some type of documentation with you just in case, or call CBP and they can help you with that, or file a FOIA for your history. Again, if it's your last one and you need to do AOS and it's missing, go onto the cbp.gov website, put in your passport information. You'll be able to pull your I-94 up that way. If that does not work, contact them.
Thank you.
Okay, Bertha.
Muchas gracias por su ayuda. Sí haré la cita. Okay, she's gonna make the appointment, she said, for her I-864.
Right.
El alias Casey. Okay, I know. I remember. I had to go back and look who this was because I knew this person. Dice, hola Elizabeth, tengo una pregunta. ¿Es seguro viajar a México con Advance Pro? Por ahora tengo múltiples entradas en mi AP se expira en octubre. Mayoría del tiempo es seguro. La única vez que les voy a decir que tengan mucho cuidado y que se asesoren es si tienen algún tipo de historial criminal. Si tienen algún ticket que no han pagado de tráfico, no les recomiendo salir. Primero encárguense de sus infracciones, de sus multas, que todo esté bien y todo pueden decir. Pero si tienen algo pendiente en la corte, ahorita no es el tiempo para ver si voy a regresar bien o me van a parar. Si tienen alguna orden de arresto, definitivamente tampoco salgan, ¿ok? Pero si está todo limpio, no tienen ningún tipo de cargo criminal, ningún historial criminal, nunca los han agarrado felonies, misdemeanors, vayan, viajen con cuidado. Si tienen que hacerlo, háganlo. Si pueden esperar hasta que reciban su residencia, también espérense. Pero buen viaje, déjenos saber cómo le fue. Is it safe to travel? He has AP. For the most part, yes. If there's something pending, just make sure that, they consult with an attorney or just wait until everything calms down. Next question. There you go.
Elias, hello. I sent my AOS packet, but I got an RFP for the 40 credits. I sent the response on August 15th, but I just got an update on September 8th saying response received and they will review the evidence. Is this okay that they took this long and that would I still get an interview even though the interview says completed in my USCIS account? Okay. First of all, just obviously you want to make sure that you have the 10 years and the 40 credits. Okay. You want to check that SSA statement. And if you're not sure, reach out. But assuming you do have the 10 years and the 40 credits, yes, it's normal for them to take a while to get back to you. And you don't be surprised if you are stuck on, response was received, and they'll review the evidence all the way until they give you an interview. Now, your interview says completed. So were you ever given an interview? Or even though it says completed, they may very well issue you an interview. So please don't be discouraged by these times of waiting months for an interview. But in your case, if it says completed, did you go to the interview? And if you haven't, it was most likely an error and they will issue you one.
Guillermo, buenos días. Buenos días, Guillermo. Dice, tengo un reckless driving del 2019. El cargo original era de DUI y fue dismissed. La abogada dice que no me afectaría y había pedido Advance Pro y me lo aprobaron, pero no salí por problemas personales. Ok, muy bien, Guillermo. Sí, yo les diría que tengan mucho cuidado. Si ustedes tienen un abogado o un asesoramiento legal, hagan, si ellos les dicen está bien, vayan, si ellos dicen, mira, ahorita no es mejor el mejor tiempo, pueden buscar una segunda opinión, pero yo no les puedo decir ahorita con certeza que no van a tener ningún tipo de problema, porque no les puedo asegurar 100%. Me hubieran preguntado antes de noviembre del año pasado, yo les hubiera dicho que sí, hicimos varios casos, hemos hecho varios casos, pero si hay algo ahí, tienen que hacerlo con mucho cuidado. Guillermo is saying he had a reckless driving in 2019 that was dismissed. His attorney told him he wouldn't have any issues. He applied for AP, got approved, but he didn't leave because of personal reasons. But we cannot say 100%
Mm.
sure. We cannot be 100% sure that you're not going to have any issues. Had they asked us before this new administration, we did several cases. They had not felonies or misdemeanors, and they traveled without no issues. But with this administration, you just have to be very careful. And again, it's a case by case basis. We really would have to look at it, or we really would recommend them an attorney.
Yes, you want to stay. You better safe than sorry, especially right now,
Yes.
because in the past, I have had reckless driving cases approved. I've had individuals, travel while their case was pending. But right now is certainly not the time to, if you're unsure, just reach out to an attorney or consult with us. Who is next? Oh, we lost Mimi here. Okay. Mimi O'Bray. I am applying for AP, but I do have a 10-year-old misdemeanor on my record. Again, Mimi, when it comes to misdemeanors and arrests, reach out with one of our, reach out and consult with one of our attorneys. Because even though it's 10 years old, it's still there, okay? Elias, thank you, and have not given me an interview, even though. Okay, Elias, well, we definitely want to know if they give you an interview or not. So reach out and let us know in our Facebook group. This is for you, Ellie.
Pirul resistente, resilient, resistente, hace pirul resistente, pirul resilient. ¿Algún info de Georgia como first time offender con DACA? No le podríamos decir, no sabemos qué cargos tenga, cuál haya sido el outcome, si va a renovar, consulte con un abogado, asesórese primero. Tienen que buscar algún tipo de asesoramiento. No le puedo decir porque no sabemos con qué. First time offender for Georgia with DACA, but I'm not sure what type of charge. We don't have any information more than that. So book an appointment, reach out to an attorney. If your renewal is coming up, try to get it lowered. There's a lot of options. Muchas gracias, Elizabeth, por tu respuesta. Gracias a Dios no tengo ningún problema con las leyes de este país. Me alegra que se acuerde de mí. Muchas gracias. Dios los bendiga. I can remember a lot of the names of my clients. Maybe not the faces, but I can remember the faces. He's an older client, so I was like, I know who he is. Older client. Okay, next.
Alma, if I list the same address twice in the forms, physical address 1 and physical address 2, or current address and prior address for 2 consecutive periods, first as a temporary stay and then as the beginning of my actual permanent residence, will this be seen as a mistake or cause confusion? I'm trying to clearly show the transition from a temporary stay to establish my permanent residence at the same location. If you have been at the same location for the past 5 years, you don't have to do the temporary and the permanent establishment. If you were at let's say you were at the address for a few months and then you moved and then you went back to the address permanently, then obviously you would have to list it in that way. So if you have been at this address for the last 5 years, just note the address where you've been for the last 5 years. If you were at this address for a few weeks or for a few months and then you moved and then you went back to this address, you're going to have to note it in that order as well. So again, if you've been at this address for the last 5 years, note it as your permanent address. If you were here and then you moved and then you went back, you have to show USCIS where you were living for the last 5 years. It doesn't really show them to establish a permanent residency. It shows them, look, this is where I've lived in the last 5 years.
I think we got to a good stopping point. I do have an
Yeah,
appointment in a few minutes. What do
so
you
do I.
think?
Same here.
Okay, perfect. So we will see everybody next Wednesday. Prepare your questions. We try to cover as much as we can. Some days we are here longer than other days, just depending on what type of appointments we have. So we're going to go ahead and go, and we will see everybody next Wednesday.
All right, and have yourselves a great week. Just one little tip: do not sit there and stress about the addresses. Just list where you've lived the last 5 years. If you were at the address, list it. Then if you move, list that and list the first address. Whatever. If you were mixing and mingling up addresses, you know what I mean. Just list them in order because they're just gonna want to know where you were from September 2020 to present. Okay, so please don't sit there and stress about this. Okay. All right, everybody. Have yourselves a great week, and we will see you guys next week.